I used to believe my marriage was unshakable. We had been together for years, built a life, raised a family, and weathered the storms that most couples never survive. I trusted my wife more than anyone in this world. If she said something, I believed it without question. That's why, when she first mentioned him, I didn't think twice. "He's just a friend," she said with a casual smile, the kind of smile that made me feel foolish for even raising an eyebrow. "We met through work. He's funny, easy to talk to. You'd like him." And I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that a simple friendship could exist without shadows, without secrets. But deep down, something inside me stirred, a quiet unease that I couldn't shake. It started small. Late-night texts she brushed off as work stuff. Phone calls that always seemed to come when I wasn't around. A shift in her laughter, softer and lighter, like she was sharing pieces of herself with someone else. I told myself not to overthink. Not to be the jealous husband. After all, she had never given me a reason not to trust her. But trust has a way of blinding you, of making you ignore the very signs that scream the truth. And the truth was creeping in, whether I wanted to face it or not. It was the little things that began to gnaw at me. Her phone, once left casually on the nightstand, was now glued to her side. Notifications popped up, and she'd flip the screen face down before I could glance at it. When I asked who it was, she'd roll her eyes and say, "You don't have to worry, it's just my friend." That phrase became her shield. Just a friend. But friends don't make your wife smile in ways you haven't seen in years. Friends don't send messages at 2 in the morning. Friends don't suddenly become the reason she wears perfume to run errands or spends extra time choosing a dress for work. One night, I walked into the living room and caught her on the couch, whispering into the phone, her voice soft, almost trembling. She didn't see me at first. She was laughing quietly, a kind of laughter I hadn't heard directed at me in a long time. When she finally noticed me, she jumped like she'd been caught stealing. She fumbled with her words, hung up quickly, and said, "That was just my friend, from work." "You know him." But I didn't know him. I'd never met him. He was a ghost that lived between us, and with each passing day, he was growing stronger while I was becoming invisible. The worst part? Every time I questioned her, she flipped it back on me. "Why are you acting paranoid? Don't you trust me? He's just a friend." And I wanted to believe her, I truly did. But my gut told me otherwise. And sooner or later, the truth was going to spill out. The first time I actually saw him was by accident. I had finished work earlier than expected and decided to surprise my wife. She wasn't at home when I arrived, so I drove to the cafe she mentioned she often stopped by after the office. And there he was. Tall, younger than me, dressed sharp but casual. He leaned in too close when she spoke, his hand brushing hers like it was the most natural thing in the world. And she didn't pull away. In fact, she smiled in a way I hadn't seen in years. It was a smile full of warmth, of softness, a smile that used to belong to me. For a moment, I froze in the doorway, the scene burning itself into my memory. She hadn't noticed me yet, and for those few seconds, I saw her in a world where I didn't exist. When her eyes finally met mine, the color drained from her face. She pulled her hand back instantly, almost too fast, and forced a laugh as if to cover the truth that was already screaming in my head. "Oh, honey," she said nervously, standing up, "this is Mark. My friend I told you about." Mark extended his hand like nothing was wrong, but his eyes gave him away. There was a flicker of guilt, of something unspoken. I shook his hand, forcing a polite smile, but inside I was unraveling. My chest burned with rage, jealousy, and betrayal all tangled together. And as we stood there, the three of us locked in this twisted triangle, I knew in my bones, he wasn't just a friend. That night, the silence between us was unbearable. She moved around the kitchen like nothing had happened, humming under her breath, pretending not to notice the way I was watching her. My mind was still replaying the scene at the cafe, his hand brushing hers, that smile she thought I'd never see again. Finally, I couldn't hold it in. Tell me the truth, I said, my voice low, steady, but heavy. What's going on between you and him? She froze, her back to me, shoulders stiff. For a moment, I thought she might finally confess. But then she turned, forced a tired smile, and whispered the same line she'd been using to chain me in doubt. He's just a friend. My stomach twisted. Just a friend. Those words had become poison. I pushed harder. I asked why he had to call late at night, why she laughed differently with him, why her perfume seemed to linger more when she said she was working late. That's when her face hardened. She crossed her arms and snapped, "You're imagining things. Do you realize how insecure you sound right now? Do you want to push me away with this jealousy?" Her words cut deep. She was turning it all back on me, painting herself as the victim. And for a moment, I doubted myself. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I was being paranoid. But then I remembered his eyes. The guilt in them when he shook my hand. No. I wasn't crazy. Something was there. Something she was desperately hiding. And I decided, right then and there, that I was going to find out the truth, no matter how much it hurt. Once doubt takes root, it consumes everything. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't even look at her without wondering who she really was when I wasn't around. So I started watching. Her phone was always locked now, but one night while she showered, she left it charging on the nightstand. My hand shook as I picked it up. The screen asked for a passcode, one I didn't know. She had changed it. My wife, the woman I thought shared everything with me, now had secrets sealed behind numbers I wasn't meant to see. That confirmed it. So I dug deeper. I checked our credit card statements, and sure enough, there were charges for places she never mentioned, restaurants, bars, even a hotel. Each transaction lined up perfectly with the nights she said she was working late. I felt my blood run cold. Still, I wanted more. I downloaded a GPS tracking app onto her phone when she wasn't looking. The first night I used it, my chest nearly caved in. She wasn't at the office like she'd said. She was across town, at his apartment. I sat in my car outside his building, staring at the glow of the windows, every part of me screaming to storm inside, to catch them in the act. But I didn't. I just sat there, gripping the wheel, suffocating under the weight of the truth I had finally uncovered. There it was. Proof. And yet, even with the evidence burning in my hands, I still couldn't believe it. My wife, the woman I had built a life with, was giving herself to another man, and still calling him just a friend. The confrontation didn't happen in some dramatic movie-style scene. It happened in the quiet of our bedroom, late at night, when the lies had finally pushed me past the point of silence. She was brushing her hair, pretending everything was normal, when I said it. "I know where you've been." Her hand froze mid-stroke. Slowly, she turned, her eyes searching mine. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her voice shaky, but still trying to play innocent. "I followed you," I said. My chest was heaving, but my voice was steady. "I saw you at his apartment. Don't tell me he's just a friend again." For a moment, she looked like a child caught in a lie. Her lips parted, but no words came. Then, like a mask slipping off, her face hardened. "So what if I was there?" she snapped. "You don't understand me anymore. He listens. He makes me feel alive. Do you have any idea how lonely I've been in this marriage?" The word stabbed deeper than I could have imagined. I wanted her to deny it, to tell me I was wrong. Instead, she gave me the truth, raw and cruel. Tears burned my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. "After everything we've built," I whispered, "you threw it away for him?" She didn't answer. Silence filled the room, heavier than any scream could have been. In that silence, I knew what was broken could never be fixed. And the woman who once promised me forever had chosen a lie wrapped in the words, "He's just a friend." The days that followed felt like I was living in someone else's life. I'd wake up, see her beside me, and wonder how many times she had already chosen him over me while lying in that same bed. Every laugh, every memory, every promise we'd ever shared now felt hollow, poisoned by betrayal. I tried to imagine forgiving her, but the image of them together haunted me. It wasn't just about her body, it was about the intimacy she gave him, the parts of her heart that were supposed to belong to me alone. Eventually, I stopped pretending. One evening, I packed a bag, set it by the door, and told her the words I never thought I'd say: "I can't do this anymore." She cried, begged, promised it was a mistake. She said she could cut him off, that we could rebuild, that he was never more than just a friend. But it was too late. That phrase had become a dagger, and I wasn't going to let it pierce me again. I walked out that night with nothing but my dignity and the bitter truth that sometimes the person you trust most becomes the one who destroys you. Now, when I hear anyone say, "He's just a friend," I can't help but remember the cost of believing it. Because behind those words, I learned, can hide the deepest betrayal.